what I've done is I expanded all that 100 times because a lot of these modules only had a paragraph description of some places. There wasn't a lot of information. The maps were just sketches. They weren't done very well, but just enough to give you an idea of locations in the village or where it's at. And so that's what I've been working on, expanding it greatly by using the tools we have today. So that's why those roads are there the way they are. When they go past the guard station, they're challenged. Any adventurers or merchants going along the road, they're challenged by the guards there. And you can learn all about that by looking at the articles. Across the way is a wainwright, for wagons, teamsters. Across the bridge. So location number one. The locations are the same as the Temple of Elemental Evil module. I make sure I try to keep it core as much as I can and still expand. So 1 is still the waterfront inn. And number 4 is the boatman's inn. Down here, number 3 is the disguised cleric, Canonist Yade, and sees a herbalist there, a herbalism shop. And number 2 is Otis's smithy. I made that into 2 buildings to make it look like more of a smithy. And also, as you can see, there's a lot of ruins. There's a lot of burnt out dwellings here because there was a big battle after the Battle of Emerald Meadows when the forces came sweeping in. There was a battle here defending the Temple of Elemental Evil before it was put down. They had an 18th level archmage fighting with them. If you look down south on the map, you'll see fireball marks from that battle 7 years ago. The reason I made those marks is because 18th level fireball, 18 hit dice, that is so much heat generated, it pulled the earth up like dimpled meadows. I got that idea from the Black Company series of fantasy books. And I'm a big fan of those books by Glenn Cook. Going back to the map here, I added a cemetery. This cemetery is old, from the original foundation of Nulb, before any of the uprisings of the Temple of Elemental Evil. And if you go north up the road here, there's a church here. Now that's a church to the Elder Elemental God, which is the original church from before the first uprising. The main faith of the Elemental God was kind of benign and neutral. It was the Temple of Elemental Evil that put a twist to it and made it evil. And this is supposed to be the original temple to worship that god in their own natural elemental way. But they got their own things going on that you can read about in the article.